We are here in Piedra de la Pomes at 3,800 meters. It's quite a fascinating landscape here, built by erosion or created by erosion. From the ground it's hard to see how beautiful it is and how special. So we climbed up one of the hills and looked from above. It's really quite amazing to see. Because we were, until a few minutes ago, we were the only people here in this area. I also started the drone for a few minutes and took some pictures from above, and then you really see how it looks like. It's quite fascinating. Here, the drive was easy for us, but it's definitely four-wheel drive. There were warning signs at the beginning. It took us about 45 minutes or something like this, so definitely only for four-wheel drive. There's a lot of deep sand on the last 3 kilometers, and with a four-wheel drive you get stuck immediately, and you don't get out unless you have somebody to pull you out. Yes, so that was that. Quite a long drive today from Belén to here, and now we continue to Antofagasta de la Sierra, and hopefully we still have time today to visit the Laguna Diamante. When we reached Antofagasta in the afternoon, we had to search a bit to find the correct track to Laguna Diamante. But thanks to the waypoints we had put into our Garmin Overlander, we found it, and we were nicely surprised by the landscape. It was much greener than what we have seen the days before. We drove for more than 2 hours and still did not get to Laguna Diamante. As we were at a height of more than 5,000 meters, we decided to turn around, as we did not feel really well enough acclimatized to spend the night at such a height. Driving back, we enjoyed the beautiful light with the sun setting down, and it was already dark when we drove back into the village of Antofagasta, where we spent the night in a small hotel. The next morning, we continued our little expedition through the Argentinian part of the Atacama Desert. We drove to Cono de Arita, a perfect lava cone in the middle of a salt lake. The drive there had some beautiful parts, but the track was mostly in horrendous shape, with a very heavy corrugation, stretching our nerves to the limit. We were very tired from the long drive on this very poor road, and were happy when we found a wild camping spot to settle for the night. The next morning we continued our journey. We had to let pass a number of heavily loaded trucks on their way to a lithium mine. Although it had rained in some areas during the night, the track was quite easy to drive. But not for these trucks, which got completely stuck in the mud. Luckily, it was not a big deal for us to circumvent the situation.
It was another day with many hours behind the wheel, but we were rewarded with a very nice camp spot we found shortly before sunset.
Early morning here in the Argentinian Andes. The sun is coming up and it's time for coffee. After two really interesting but also sometimes rough and exhausting days driving through the desert of Argentina with really rough roads, a lot of corrugation, really challenging us from a persistence perspective. We are now at Salinas Grandes, a large salt lake in Iguazu region, and it's really quite impressive to see this really far stretching salt lake.
Just after we left Salinas Grandes, the road was obviously damaged by some flooding as a result of the rain. We found this quite interesting to drive actually, but little did we know that we were going to face a really dangerous situation.
Yeah, we had indeed a problem. We drove the Route 52 to get to Punamaca, but then suddenly the road was completely washed away and there was no sign, nothing, even not a barricade. At night you would have driven into the ground. Actually it was probably 100 meters deep. The rain last night washed away everything, and so we had to turn around and now find another way to Punamaca, which is quite a detour, but of course that happens. Nature sometimes has its surprises for us. So we are now here back at Salinas Grandes, and Birgit is just at the kiosk to get some water and some food because we are running out of those supplies as we plan to stay in a hotel for the next 3 days. And she's also checking if the other route, the alternative route, is free, so we can go there. And then we have probably another 3-4 hours drive instead of half an hour drive. After a long and exciting, interesting, sometimes demanding but always enjoyable trip through Argentina on the Route 40 and crisscrossing the country next to the Route 40, we are here now today at the final point of the Route 40 near the Bolivian border, where a lot of people have left the stamp on the signs here, and it's a nice feeling to be here. But it has been just wonderful. It's just amazing, and it feels great to be here now. And we will stay nearby. There's a little lagoon with a lot of flamingos not too far away, which an Argentinian couple told us today. And we will drive there now and spend the night near that lagoon. We are here in the very northwest of Argentina, in the triangle of Bolivia, Chile and Argentina, at a relatively unknown laguna, which hosts in the season about 160 to 170,000 flamingos. We were lucky to meet some people who took us here with their research project, and now we are on our own here because I went to some scientific sites and to some testing, and we are enjoying here the area, trying to get closer to the flamingos, but they're very shy here because this is an area where only very few tourists come. The ranger told us it's about 3 tourists per day on average, so it's very low, and therefore the flamingos are not used to them and fly away as soon as you get in the proximity of about 200 meters.
Quite a while since Rocky got its last wash, and the mud had started to really build up on it. So we took our car to a car wash again. This time the work was done for us and we continued our trip to Salta.
We are relaxing for a few days here in Salta, the capital city of the province with the same name. It's a city with 500,000 citizens, but it doesn't feel like that. The city center is really nice, quite relaxed. We strolled around yesterday for quite a while. A lot of old buildings still to see, nice restaurants, and as I said, quite easygoing and not too crowded, despite the fact that a lot of things are here to be seen. We're staying on a campground in the city. It's about 3 kilometers from the city center in itself. And the amazing thing about this campground is it has a huge pool. It must be something like 300 meters long and 100 meters wide or something like this. It's unbelievable. But it's empty at the moment because the season is over, which has an advantage because today is Sunday. So I assume during the main season this pool will be full of people from Salta trying to get a bit of fresh water and go swimming a bit with the kids. So the fact that the pool is empty and we are off season, it's very relaxed here. It's quiet, very safe, and very well located campground. Easy to go to the city center by taxi. It's as I said, just 3 kilometers. We're really enjoying it here, hanging around. A couple of other travelers who have been traveling for years, some of them. So yeah, it's a special atmosphere. We like it, and we put together a few impressions of Salta, which is also called the Beautiful for a reason.
From Salta, we drove more than 1,100 kilometers through mostly uninspiring landscape. Luckily, the road was quite good, the area flat, and very little traffic on the road.
Douglas Tompkins was an entrepreneur who founded the North Face and I think also Esprit. And when he sold his stake in the North Face, he started to act as a philanthropist. He, for example, founded what's now called the Tompkins National Park in Chile, protecting a huge area in Patagonia. And he also was involved in rewildering the wetlands in Argentina, in Iberá. Here in the wetlands, he bought the Hacienda Rincón del Socorro and converted it into a habitat. And the hacienda, his foundation, which was then running the hacienda and is still running the hacienda, was heavily involved in reintroducing extinct animals like the jaguar and the giant anteater, but also some other smaller species into the area to create a balanced biosphere again. We have been here now for 2 days, enjoying the tranquility of the place, but also doing a lot of excursions, exploring the area. It's really fascinating to see, and it's great that this area is protected. It's now all a national park and a provincial park, a very big area, all these wetlands. But also I think what's nice is they are really trying to balance the protection of the environment also with the need of the people living in the area to make an income. So really impressive project here, really enjoyed it, and want to share a couple of impressions from this area. Now we take a last dip into the swimming pool, then we will check out and then drive to Iguazu, which will be probably 8 hours drive, and I hope through landscape that is still very interesting. And we will then check in with you guys again once we are there at the famous waterfalls. Iguazu, one of the largest waterfalls in the world. We visited it yesterday morning, and we went very early in order to be there before most of the people arrive. It was a very impressive and amazing experience, masses of water everywhere, because the Iguazu fall is not only one fall, it's quite a number of falls of different sizes, lots of water everywhere. And then in between you have little creeks which are really tranquil and quiet. You have some monkeys running around, so really fantastic. It's one of the largest waterfalls in the world. It's about 2,700 meters wide and has a drop, I think, of 65 meters. I'm not 100% sure anymore, but definitely an amazing waterfall, which was already nominated World Heritage Site in 1984. And it's not a surprise that this was done relatively early, as it is an amazing setting in the middle of the jungle, which is, I think, relatively unique in the world for a waterfall of this size. And yeah, we enjoyed it. Today is Sunday, and we will hit the road again. We are now today on our way back to Montevideo. We will make a lot of kilometers today to get to the Uruguay border, and then tomorrow latest we will enter Uruguay, and on Wednesday hopefully our car goes in the container again, sending it back to Germany. So let's hope everything will work out, because we have a flight to Rio from Uruguay on Friday morning, very early, where we will spend a few days in Rio and Buzios on the beach, meeting some old friends and so on. See you then.